And so that's where our lawmakers get our things. Of course, in France, they had this experimental idea of, well, maybe we can have the common good, and we have this idea that what is good means what everybody thinks is good, and that's all that we can define good by. And so this pragmatic way of defining good has become very prominent, but nobody feels exactly comfortable with it, because we know that what generally people think is good changes from week to week. So then will our laws change from week to week? A guy gets put in prison today for something that tomorrow becomes legal. And then, or somebody does something that today is illegal. Today is legal and tomorrow it becomes illegal. And nobody can do anything about it. It sounds weird. In other words, you have to pick up the newspaper to find out what the laws are that day. So this is why freedom gets very confusing. But we're getting back to our main issue here, since we brought up the legal system. Because originally, the human system of law and law enforcement was designed by the Supreme. The Kshatriyas were supposed to organize humans, and they were supposed to protect those who were unable to protect themselves. And they were supposed to administer, duties, and they were supposed to be sure people were performing their duties. So a qualified Kshatriya was supposed to understand the law. A qualified Kshatriya was supposed to be sure that one didn't cheat to get more than they were actually supposed to get. And the qualified administrator was supposed to know whether or not a person was doing his duty or not. If a person wasn't doing their duty, the qualified Kshatriya was supposed to do something about that. See why they weren't doing their duty. Because we all benefit from society, so we all have to do something for society. We get something, so we have to give something. It's just as simple as that. And if society is running rightly, then this all is fairly straightforward. But when society becomes totally confused about what's right and what's wrong, what should be done and shouldn't be done, and the kind of people who are in the political or Kshatriya position, such people are not people of character, then all this becomes scrambled. And everybody knows that the politics is corrupt. And everybody knows that what's going on in the lawmaking thing is not really benefiting anybody. So people try to sneak by it as much as they can, and sometimes they get thrown in jail, and sometimes they don't, and on it goes. So the original system of the Supreme Lord, finding people who are qualified to rule, those who are qualified people ruling, and keeping everything in check with laws, and also with positive things, keep people going in the right direction. That has disintegrated in all years to the point where we have a mess. And most people know it well. You don't have to spend arguing. It's quite obvious our Congress is totally dysfunctional. Not only ours, but practically everyone in the world. All the other Congresses are about the same or worse. So at any rate, the point is that laws also govern our activity. And laws are closely aligned with morality. What is morality? Those kind of things that we believe should not be done. Now, of course, in our modern day, people are questioning what should be done and what shouldn't be done. And the lines are becoming more and more blurred. It's no longer as clear as it once was. But let's get back to the issue of freedom again. I don't want to drift too far, because that was my main focal point, is this idea of freedom. So what kind of freedom is good, and what kind of freedom is bad, and why? If we do discover, or we do actually agree that there are different kinds of freedom, they're not only different kinds of freedom as far as what you want and what your main hope of freedom is, but also whether that freedom is good for you in the long run or that freedom is not good for you in the long run. So how do we figure that out? All right, intelligence, where are we getting it? Well, partly. Some people do that. That was, certainly Immanuel Kant's, way of looking at the idea. What's that? Okay, we're looking for people who have intelligence. Now we come to another big confusion point. Who is qualified as an authority? Because we see we have many unauthoritative authorities in our world. In fact, the whole world is full of not-so authorities, you know. And so after a while we start to lose our grip that there are any real authorities out there, that other people are just telling us what they want us to believe so they can take advantage of us. And certainly there's a lot of that going on. And Prabhupada called it the Society of the Cheaters and the Cheated. So we have people who tell us things that they themselves don't believe, but they tell us those things because they can get an advantage on us by telling us those things if we believe them. So we have people who tell us things that they wish were true, but are, you know, by far not established at all. So they're hoping something is true, and they're trying to convince you that it's true, but they don't know it's true. And you're just as much in the dark as they are, and that's what we call the blind leading the blind, and they all fall in the ditch. You know? So we have those people who want to do the right thing, or think they're doing the right thing, and they may not be genuinely cheating, but at the same time they don't have any knowledge, so they are leading people who are somehow looking up to them in the wrong direction. So how do we discover what an authority is? Now this is a big tricky issue. And this one question, if you can answer it decisively in your life, will change your whole life. Yeah. All right. So at least those are some basic good qualities. You don't harm other people and you're truthful. But for an authority, we don't just want superficial knowledge. From authority, we want some deep, penetrating knowledge that we can use in everyday life, and something that we can build a scaffold in and live in. And then from day to day, when things come into our front room, we decide whether they should be there, or we should move them, or we should get away from them, or we should try to get more of them in there. What it is that we should do. Right. Those who don't follow the ways of Shastra, they never get happiness or even knowledge. Right. Just a second, look. Finish. Okay. Okay. So real authority should be based on Scripture. But what about the verse that we read in Paradise Lost by Milton? It says, both you and I read the Bible day and night, yet you read black and I read white. That version of God that you think you see is my version's worst enemy. So, you know, the devil's in the details, or we could say the devil's in the interpretation. Right. Right. Okay. So we're beginning to see how authority figures into this picture of freedom. We're going to learn about true freedom from an authority. But where do we find that authority? That's the question. One that knows Scripture? I mean, up and down all over here in Queens, we've got various little temples here. We've got a lot of churches I was passing by. I was just thinking, it's Sunday morning, so naturally we're in there talking about Jesus and the devil and all those kind of things, trying to figure out what to put things in together. And certainly, this is an attempt at trying to understand deeply what we should do with our lives. And but authority is something a little deeper than this. You know, authority means that we actually understand things at a very deep level. And because we do, we have a structure to work our life in the world. We aren't just acting randomly, and we're not just going with the flow. Because it's easy to go with the flow, and most people are doing it. So if you go with the flow, you wind up flowing off the edge of the cliff with all the other lemmings. You know, everybody is dancing their way off the cliff, and eventually you find your time to go off the cliff too, just like everybody else. So how do we find the authority?
Which scriptures
Right.
talking about, because you could be in a
Right.
Islamic Sharia, or you say, oh, whatever the
Right.
Quran says.
Right.
So then
Again, you have the same issue there with
which one?
the interpretation. You have that in the Bible, you have that in the Vedas, you have that in the Quran. So how do we get around that issue? As it is. Okay. Yeah, but even in our ISKCON, we have the Ritics who say that Prabhupada doesn't want anybody to be initiated. And they quote the Bhagavad Gita. So,
Maybe if you have sincerity in your heart, you will find Krishna.
Okay.
Krishna will guide you.
okay. So, yeah. Okay, how do we know a bona fide one?
I would like to say that freedom means to be free,
Of what?
to exercise, free to do something.
Free to do something.
Freedom for me means to be free to use and exercise free will and choice that
Yeah.
God has given us
Yeah,
in this world.
in the world.
And that means free to choose good and bad.
Yeah, right, right,
So for me, freedom means that.
right,
Because God tells us we can choose evil if we want.
right,
There's a
exactly.
result, and we can choose good if we want.
Right,
There's a result.
there's a
So
result.
freedom means to be free, to exercise, and to use the free will and choice that God
Right.
has given us.
But fourth thing, you have no freedom. Janma mrityu jara vedhi.
No, we
Can,
are
can, I want to go always young.
Marx is talking about the American modern American origin of freedom.
What's that?
Initially, we set the basis.
We what?
We set the premises.
Yeah.
We are looking at freedom in a modern American way. Right? We're not talking about beyond the material world. We're talking about freedom, modern American way.
Right, right,
means
exactly.
Within the material
I wanted to do
sphere.
it that way. I'm glad you're bringing up that
I
difference.
didn't want to deviate because we can clear this up and then go to the next.
Right, right.
So we're looking at being freedom in a material sphere. of
Materialistic
existence.
way. Right.
And so we should be free. Freedom
Right.
means to be free without hindrance,
Uh-huh.
to use and exercise free will and choice that God has given, or free choice.
Right.
We have a right, everyone, to free choice.
Choice, right. In
Even
other
to
words, we
drink
can
poison.
desire what we want.
Even to drink poison.
Right.
I should be free.
Yeah.
But some people don't like it. My parents, my friends may not like me to drink poison, so they try
Right.
to stop me. They want it, but we should be free, and that is given by God.
Right. So this is the
And,
point
you know,
that I'm making here. That
There are two results. Our choices will give us two destinations.
right.
Hell
Classification
and
is-
heaven.
See,
If we
this is
don't
why
like-
I'm bringing up the idea that freedom is such a misunderstood word. The minute you start to talk and explore the concept of freedom, you start to run into twists and turns at every angle of it. You know, but we are getting somewhere. Yeah.
Are we discussing freedom in relation to the living entity here?
Well, we're talking about every kind of freedom.
Every kind of,
Yeah, because there's different flavors of it,
but you
different
will have
conceptions of
certain
it.
basic qualities. Certain basic qualities that society will have to provide
Uh-huh.
for a living entity from the time of birth.
I see.
So that will depend on the home, beginning at home, then they go out to school,
Right,
and then they go on further to whatever path they choose.
right. So you're talking more in terms of basic social rights or something
Yeah,
like
we
that.
have to have that to build.
Right, right.
And
So we
that
have
is how
basic
we build
social
and
rights.
we go to different religions.